Be very quiet. We're hunting rabbits. There he is. Got him. Welcome back to the channel, lads and ladies. And why am I sneaky breaking here in this French light tank? Well, I have a special task today to get critical hits. No, it was to get kill assists. So that means that I want to critically hit an enemy. Oh, quickly reposition, little fella. And then leave them. So I like to do that in the air. It tends to give me more opportunity to avoid. Come on, move you sow. And fire. Nicely done. Just above the tracks. We didn't survive that one, but we got a couple of critical hits. As I mentioned, I like to fulfill the kill assist task in the air in Tank RB. So here we are in an aircraft, and you are about to see some of the first footage I have of my F4U7. Do you like the custom camo? I like some things about it, and other things, well, they just didn't quite come out the way I'd like them to. Anyway, I'm done with it though. These are the SNEB rocket pods on the F4U that the French have access to, and you are about to see one of the fastest aces I've ever gotten in this game, so enjoy. The F4U that you see here is a somewhat heavy weight of an F4U with a rather strong engine to back it up, but you definitely feel the heft of this plane as you cruise through the skies. Nice shot into the turret of that Tiger, taking down the crew, and I believe also exploding the ammunition just for bonus effect. Those snebs can deal some serious damage. Again, I was going for kill assists here, so getting an ace was not what I had in mind, but hey, it's hard to turn down something when it's just handed to you on a silver platter like that, and I believe we were being rather helpful to our team as well. So this aircraft sits at a 6.0 battle rating in realistic battles, where it can excel as a ground attacker on account of how heavy the plane is and the somewhat odd inverted gull wing design of the F4U. It doesn't handle all that well in head-to-head combat with other fighters. When you're performing ground attack, there's not much you can do to defend yourself other than some sneaky defensive flying, and I've been able to pull off a little bit of that, as the rockets fail to find real purchase there on that target. One of the downsides to using rocket volleys in your attack is the obscuring smoke and dust that's kicked up by your initial volley, so it really helps to get a feel for where your target is and for how your rockets shoot, and most of that comes down to practice, but we do end up getting quite lucky in this one. You'll notice the aggressive vertical maneuvering we've been doing with this aircraft. You can lean on the elevator quite a bit more with the F4U than you can with the Narwhal, since Narwhal is a jet. But what you trade is that instead of performing high-speed maneuvers, you're performing much lower speed maneuvers. More time on target, and definitely with enough rockets to back up that relationship with a powerful punch, and yet that also makes you more susceptible to ground-based AA fire, as well as the very serious threat of interception by enemy fighters. However, when everything just lines up nicely, look at this. There is nothing those Tigers can do to defend themselves as we go for some quick shots on that German heavy fighter. No sauce, but thankfully he's not too interested in us either. Getting a little bit more ground fire here as we have to decide what our priority target is going to be. The whirlwind on the enemy team was very aggressive, and he does end up taking us down as we leave the aircraft. There you go. That was pretty quick. Now, comparing this with the AD4 that sits at the same battle rating, I've got to say that the F4U definitely has many advantages. Both of these aircraft perform well in low-speed maneuvers, although if I had to choose, I'd say that the AD4 is the superior fighter in a ground strike role, for defending itself against interception by enemy fighters, as we get a cheeky critical hit on that. I think that was an F8F. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going off of memory and not the pixels I see in the editing software. We tried to take a few more shots at that bomber that was coming in, and man, he was coming in hot. But of course, when it comes to ordnance, the French F4U is definitely lacking in comparison with its brother, although a quick track with the rockets and then a couple of 500-pound bombs and a very cinematic skimming of the terrain can provide for a thrilling as well as a rewarding experience. Anyway, I guess all this video really has to say is that I'm sinking my teeth into more attackers and enjoying the game lately. It's always fun to try out some new vehicles. One of the things that 6.0 France lacks on the ground is high-speed vehicles. They could definitely benefit from some early armored cars or something that can get a little bit of speed to it. Their light tank is a tad underpowered when it comes to being the fast capture point acquisition unit that every tree definitely benefits from having access to. Extremely difficult to compete with M18s and the like, even to the point where you'll often get beat to a point by a T-34-85 or even, heaven forbid, be intercepted by a Sherman Jumbo. And yes, that has happened to me. So the French light tanks, definitely not the fastest, speediest boys of the bunch. It sort of makes you appreciate the American T-92 for the gem that it is. It really is, once you've gotten past the initial ammunition selection, which is abysmal. A quite capable light tank with just almost everything you would want out of a scout or light vehicle, and a nasty bite to go along with it, especially with the buff to Heat FS. You might notice that there's no background audio in this part of the video. That's because I was listening to the European Canadian answering questions in his Q&A. Great channel if you're interested in what's coming to the game. That is a guy that uploads on a very regular basis instead of sleeping. So here we go, sending our pilot back to the runway to acquire a new plane. He used his instant transmission technology to jump into the Narval. No worries, he definitely did not eat sand there. That was just an optical illusion. Because as you know, no people are actually harmed in the making of War Thunder battles. They just get really sleepy. They get wounded. But they get better. Anyway, to compare, it really is incredible the selection of aircraft you have available for ground attack at 6.0 in the French tree. French aircraft very well suited to the occasion, getting from among the best selections of American and other aircraft, even some German ones, as we get some nice convergence on the 620mm in the nose of the Narval. This was our access into the French aircraft tree when it first came out, and I definitely have not regretted that acquisition. Speaking of, we're acquiring a target now. Turns out to be a burned out hulk of an enemy tank, so no points there. But with those aforementioned 620mm in the nose, each of them having a plethora of rounds to disperse to non-friendly targets on the ground, you definitely have the ability to cause serious damage to lightly armored or open top vehicles, as we again pull in very close to the ground on that attack vector. The Narval showing off its ability to maneuver at high speeds, which is also matched by its low speed maneuverability. Many people do not give the Narval the credit that it's very much due for maneuverability at a range of speeds mostly on account of in an air-to-air combat situation, there are some very nasty vehicles you can encounter at your battle rating that will laugh at your mobility and fill you with cannon rounds. But in a ground strike environment, the Narval is very capable. As I mentioned, those 20 mils able to dish out a lot of damage, but also to garner quite a bit of hits and thus score and spawn points. It is not a bad choice to fly out early in the Narval, and yet it can also unlock for you an attacker spawn where you can garner more respawn points in order to jump into something fun like the F4UB, or sorry, the F4U7. And all in all, the French have a very punchy, very powerful ground attack lineup. They can face some large targets in the form of the Tiger and Panther spam that I've been seeing lately. The French often being paired up against the Germans now, which is something of a change, and a welcome one, I might add. I feel like they have a little bit more reason to be paired with the Allies than against them, but it's fun to have the ability to face a range of opponents as you get to sink your teeth into a variety of enemy tanks, to put it quite literally. And as you see, again, Narval can take a few hits, as that enemy's 50 cal was fairly well aimed. Incredible the amount of elevation you can get on the anti-aircraft gun for some of those American tanks. And yet, we're just completely free here to dance around the sky. Not a lot of intercepting aircraft I noticed in these past few battles, which is always welcome. I love doing CAS and ground strike. It's too bad that it's very difficult to accomplish effective ground strike and remain unmolested in Air RB battles, and Air Arcade, it's just right out. I had a mission to get kills in Arcade, and it was bad. Anyway guys, catch you in the next video. Bye bye.